Hello, I'm Dr. John Cruz, the author of Recognizing Adult ADHD, What Donald Trump Can Teach Us About Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. And today, this is going to be a little more tip and practical advice oriented. It's what to do when you forget your ADHD medications. It will be shorter than most. I'll be talking probably in the 10-minute range. If you have questions while I'm talking, you can certainly type them in and I will get to them at the end. Or if you have questions later, this will be posted on YouTube and Facebook, so you can put in questions there. So launching into it is, I'll start with pretty much everyone with ADHD at some time or another is likely to forget their medications on at least one occasion. I mean, everyone has occasional memory slips or attention lapses or gets off track a little bit. We know that part of the executive function deficits of ADHD means that this is going to happen, or is likely to happen much more often with ADHD. So the first thing to do is what not to do, and that is not to feel particularly ashamed, embarrassed, beat yourself up, or get down on yourself. So life is much more about getting back on track than about whether you got off track to begin with, and shame is seldom helpful for getting back on track. So accept it's a slip up, figure out how to move forward. So more specifically, when you miss a medication, does it make sense to take it later that day when you discover it? And there is not a blanket answer there. The answer is going to depend on a couple of factors. One is whether this is a short-acting medication or a long-acting medication. So if you're taking something that you know for you lasts or covers 14, 16 hours a day, and you don't remember till midday that you've forgotten it, then the risk of taking it is that you will have a considerable dose in your blood at bedtime. And that in itself is not inherently a bad or evil thing, but it means that there's a likelihood, if it keeps you up or alert, that it makes it harder for you to fall asleep. There are certainly a sizable minority of people with ADHD who actually take a dose of stimulant close to bedtime in order to fall asleep. And how this works, or why this works, is that it helps them compartmentalize, to contain their thoughts, to put them in nice little boxes and put them away, rather than having thoughts ping-ponging all throughout their head and not being able to rest or settle down mentally. So if you know that there's not going to be any disruptive effects of taking it late, then it's fine to take it late. If you know it's going to keep you up, then again, good sleep is important, so that would be the big reason to avoid it. And again, hopefully you've figured out for yourself how long these medications last for you. So there is a considerable individual to individual variability. And what your own past experience is going to be the best guidance for how that medication is likely to interact or affect you in the future. So 1 or 2 points about remembering later in the day. I would support the recommendation that it's a good idea to keep a small supply, not your whole supply with you all the time, but a few pills, either in your wallet, in your purse. Most drugstores still carry tiny little medicine compartments that clip onto your keychain and allow you to store 2 or 3 pills so that you always have them with you. If you habitually spend time at a partner's house or a friend's house, or if it's a child splitting time between 2 parents, it would be a good idea to have medication stored at each location you're fairly regularly at. Or if it feels safe and secure enough, to have a few pills back in the day when we were going into work in your work desk or space there. So again, it's a good idea to have a backup supply, again, of just a few pills, not a lot. So you can take them should you forget later in the day, and should it work for you if you need them later in the day, having forgotten in the morning. So the more important piece of this is how not to miss your dose, rather than what to do once you've missed a dose. And how not to miss a dose, again, none of us are going to be perfect. But even with someone with ADHD, the more regular you make a habit of things in terms of keeping the medications in the same place and using them at the same time, you're more likely to remember it. It's one of the major reasons that many of the ADD experts recommend taking medication weekdays and weekends so that you get into the habit. Because if you develop a pattern of taking it Monday through Friday, but not taking it Saturday and Sunday, that really increases the odds come Monday morning that you're going to forget to take the medication. Now, there are certainly some people where it's a good idea to take a break on the weekends. There's certainly some people where it's actually most important to take the medication on the weekends. But the more consistent you can be, the less likely you're going to forget it. The second sort of trick for helping with consistency, the best way to establish a new habit is to tie a new habit into an old habit. So if you absolutely always have coffee in the morning, putting your pills next to the coffee machine is a good way to ensure you're going to see it and remember it. If you always take a shower and brush your teeth in the morning, putting it next to your toothbrush in the bathroom may be the best way for you to remember. Occasionally I've worked with people who said they're so random, so spontaneous that they don't, and maybe with COVID, with life so constricted that they don't have any consistency. For one person I worked with, the only thing we could come up with is every morning he did get out of bed and leave his bedroom and go to the rest of the house or apartment. And for him, we actually tied the medication bottle to the door of his bedroom so that as he left the bedroom, he would see it and remind himself. So again, tying a habit in to an existing habit, and hopefully you have the comfort level and the safety to be able to leave the medication out, because if you feel the need to hide it from friends or family or others, that significantly increases the likelihood you're going to forget it. Again, there shouldn't be any, the other connected with this, the strong recommendation I have is to buy one of those, and sometimes pharmacies give them away for free, buy one of the weekly pill containers. So Monday pills, Tuesday, Wednesdays are all mapped out for you, and you can simply check if you're not sure whether you took a pill or forgot it this morning. And again, there's no reason to feel shame. The medication is the same size, the same shape, the same color every morning. Why would you bother remembering 5 minutes later whether you took it or not? But if you have one of the weekly pill containers, you can see if today's Tuesday and Tuesday's pill's still there, you didn't take it. If Tuesday's container is gone, presumably you did manage your days right and you did take it 10 minutes ago, even if you can't remember it. So again, the weekly pill containers are not just for the geriatric set. They are, even a 20-year-old with plenty to do in their life, there's no reason they should particularly remember a short time later whether they took the medicine or not. The last little piece of tip or clue to remembering and reminding is some people do set an alarm, so to go off at a certain time, and that can remind them to double check whether they've taken it or not. If that helps for you, great. Jumping back to what do you do if you've missed a dose, I didn't highlight the question, what do you do if you kind of think you missed the dose but aren't sure and you're worried about double dosing? For most people, the downside of double dosing is you're going to feel too revved up, too agitated, too revved up, like potentially too unfocused. It should not be a lethal situation. There's a fairly broad range of dosage that are tolerable to the human body. Your heart rate might be going faster, but again, if your own experience is that taking too much makes you feel horrible, then it's probably best to err on the side of caution and don't take it if you're uncertain as to doing it. But again, the weekly pill box can help you remember whether you took it or not. So that's about all I have to say for this week. I see there's a question and I will read it in a minute. And next week's talk, Friday at 11 on Facebook here, is going to be about mental health issues related to COVID. So it's going to not narrowly related to ADHD at all, just a much broader mental health and COVID talk. Yep, so Keith comments that he completely forgets seconds later and he has to have a reminder and take it and check a box on my phone saying done. So that's a good point he made. So in addition to just sort of an alarm or reminder giving you a noise or a signal, which can be easy to ignore or overrun, having a system where you are forced to check a box or mark something or type something in so it's clearer you didn't just listen to the alarm and 2 minutes later got distracted and maybe you forgot to take it even after the alarm. So again, having an alarm system where it's requiring you to do something once you've consumed the medication can be a helpful adjunct to these approaches here. So stay safe, have a good week, and I will be back next week.